All right, Islam, Islam, Islam. Welcome to Moorish Heritage and History School. This is this is Anna Ill. And what we're doing today, because we are not live near Harlem Corporation, in order to continue giving you a little bit of food for thought, we are doing a blog, a listening event, on the Wednesdays that we are not physically at the class near Harlem at Northwest Amexem. So just so that everyone is aware, day is, today's the 6th of April. We will not physically be near Harlem Corporation at the National Theater. We will be there next week, the 13th, and the following week, the 20th. So make sure and catch us at the National Theater near Harlem Corporation at Northwest Amexem, the 13th and the 20th. We will not physically be there on the 27th. However, we will do a blog broadcast so that the family can still have some food for thought, something to turn around in their head or their cranium, as I like to say, some food for thought. So this broadcast, we're going to have a special guest next Thursday, I believe on the 13th. Yes, on the 13th. Next Wednesday, we will have Abdul Mosley Ilbay. I might be pronouncing it wrong. He's going to be doing I just refer to him as Abdullah. So he's going to be doing the class next week on etymology, and he will be talking some more from some points in his upcoming book. So make sure and check us out next Wednesday, the 13th, at the National Theater. Doors open at 6, class begins at 7:30. All right? So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about a couple of things. First of all, I got a text message from a sister near what they call the Maryland Corporation. And it was really interesting. I'm not sure if others may have heard of this, but I felt that it was interesting to make note of because a lot of times, the wheels of justice, Jesus, because, the Jesus is code for justice, but the wheels of Jesus may appear to be turning slowly. However, what we need to focus on is, nonetheless, they are turning. So this is a post from U.S. News and World Report, and it is entitled, "A former Maryland judge who ordered a defendant to be physically shot in his courtroom has been sentenced to participate in anger management classes and pay a $5,000 note fine." I'm going to read some more of the article because some of the things that was in there lets you know that your writs are working, and the fact that the people are waking up and enforcing the Constitution, it is working to the point where they are throwing these people who are making it a bit of a challenge for them to generate revenue in secret under code. It's making it a little bit of a challenge. Because the bottom line is enough people wake up and realize that, wait a minute, you never needed to do the things that you've been doing with these county, city, town, township, borough corporations. If the people just woke up to that fact, they would be free of a lot of harassment. And so when one of their own puts their ability to generate revenue in jeopardy, they will throw them under the bus. So the way that this piece of information was presented to me was that there's no justice, but this is justice. You just need to comprehend what exactly it is. So it reads, a former Maryland judge who ordered a defendant to be physically shocked in his courtroom was sentenced Thursday to participate in anger management classes and pay a $5,000 fee. Then they let you know who exactly are they talking about now. He's no longer being kept a secret. They throw him right out there. Robert C. Nally of La Plata, Maryland, will also have to spend a year on probation. Nally, 72, pleaded guilty earlier this year to a civil rights violation for ordering a deputy to activate a stun cuff that a defendant appearing before him was wearing around his ankle. The defendant, who is acting as his own lawyer, at least they said he was a layman lawyer, was before Nally in July 2014 for jury selection and had failed to listen to Nally's orders to stop speaking. After he was shocked, the defendant fell to the ground screaming. A video of the exchange without sound and separate audio was played in court Thursday. Prosecutor Christy O'Malley noted that the defendant didn't raise his voice or yell during the exchange, and even called the judge, sir. She said Nally very quickly grew impatient and that his use of the stun cuff was highly disproportionate for nothing more than verbal interruption. Then she goes on to say, our Constitution does not allow a violation of rights based on annoyance, she said. Nally acknowledged as part of a plea deal, quote, that the use of the stun cuff was unreasonable under the circumstances, end quote, and both prosecutors and Nally's lawyer agreed to recommend a sentence of 1 year on probation. Now, there's more here to this particular article, but if you just follow along with what was just said, what they are saying is, okay, we have to do something about this particular employee, because if he continues to do this, the fact that we are raping the people and demanding under threat of life income is going to come to light. So we need to just cut him loose. And basically that's what they did here, and that's what they're telling you here. You know, as Moors, we have to get real. These people, at this stage of the game, they are never, ever, ever going to come out and say, yes, we're in violation of constitutional and treaty law. They're never going to say, yes, we know you're Moors. They're never going to say, yes, we know that we're extorting income from you under threat to your life. They're never going to say, yes, we know we're a corporation. They're never going to say, yes, the police is our military to enforce our policies and procedures. They're never going to say any of this stuff outright. They're going to tell you things in code. And didn't the prophet say that you need to know how to read things based on signs and symbols? I mean, come on, we're declaring and then proclaiming to be Moors. Moors are knowledgeable of Moorish science. That means that you ought to be able to see things based on the signs and the symbols. So, yeah, they're trying to tell you something without telling you something in this particular article. There's other articles that they do the same. for example, I'll tell you, and this is why we have to slow down, and we need to evaluate things a little bit better, because sometimes we'll get a response and we don't realize, hey, we just got a favorable reply. I can tell you from my own experience years ago, I sent some information to the Supreme Court up north and sent me back my paperwork, and they checked off something on the document. And when I read it, I was like, I can't remember the exact wording, but when I read it, I didn't get the sign or the symbol. And it wasn't until I had a conversation and calmed down a little bit, because I was looking for an outright answer. I learned from that you're not going to get an outright answer. They're going to tell you what you're trying to hear, but they're going to tell you in a way where if you're studying and if you're the Moors that you are declaring and proclaiming to be, you ought to be able to get it. That's just, and so when I calmed down and looked at it again and then turned it over in my head, I realized, oh, got a favorable reply, because basically what they told me in code is that they don't have any jurisdiction. I didn't get it. I had to calm down and look at it, study it, and just, turn it over in my head. And when I went back and looked at it again, I realized what they were saying. So we have to learn how to take information based on the signs and the symbols, because that's what everything is about. Everything is about signs and symbols. And so we have to get, once again, we got to get our study on. We got to get up to par, because if we don't, if we can't see things in that manner, we're going to miss a lot. We're going to miss a lot, and we're going to take, because I love to read the prophecies and the statements of Noble Drew Ali. I have read all of them, and I read them over and over and over again. And to date, none of them have been inaccurate. They have all been on point. So I say this. We, the prophet, already laid it out for us. And if we know a little bit of the science, then we ought to know that this is already a done deal. It's already done. We here and now have to catch up mentally with what is already done. All right? And so we need to study and read those prophecies and statements, because I know that there's a lot of Moors out there. They think, this is happening just in this area, or we're a special group of Moors here. All of the Moors is special. And the birthright theft is nationwide. Actually, it's planetary-wide. So there is no special group of Moors. We are all in this together. All right? So we need to stop acting like, I'm oppressed just a little bit more than other Moors. No, everybody's being oppressed. Everybody. Because this is all about birthright theft. It's all about confusing the family and the members of the family so that they can never get it together. So we got to step back, and, I can say that it's probably going to appear to be rather difficult, but it's not. Everybody ought to know from the prophecies and the statements, the prophet said, all going to be in the hands of the Moor. Said it doesn't matter what it looks like, it's all going to be in the hands of the Moor. So what we have to do is that we have to discipline ourselves. We have to discipline ourselves to be studying constantly correcting our minds because we have X amount of years of mental conditioning that is working against us. And our biggest challenge is that because we are a very passionate people, we get mad real quick. Like, we go from 0 to 100 real fast. So we have to learn to not allow anything outside of us to get us away from that feeling of peace and harmony that we are experiencing at any given moment. We got to maintain that. That's one of the ways that I have learned, able to manifest exactly what you want. To keep your mind focused on staying harmonious. Now, I will say this, at first, it is going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge. You're going to feel like this is too hard. You're probably not going to want to do it. But this is an exercise for each and every one of us, because in disciplining ourselves and being able to maintain peace in the midst of turmoil, you will be able to manifest exactly what you want as opposed to what you got, because it's all in the mind, So we have to learn to discipline that mind, and we do that through our own independent mental conditioning. We do that. Nobody's going to come and do it for you. I know it would be so easy for us to turn this over to somebody, but look, it is turning it over to somebody that got us where we are right now. If we had been handling our own affairs like we are supposed to be, we would not be in this situation. So we can't go backwards. We can only go forward. And going forward means that we've got to handle our own family affairs. Nobody can handle it. Family begins with each and every one of us individually. So we in order to be able to handle our affairs, we have to study so that we know how to move from a position of 100% law and history, verifiable, law and history. Everything that we say and do, it has to be verifiable. Can't just spit things out because without any type of documentation to support what you are saying, because then you'll get hit with slander. The nature of law and history, that's not the history of the Moors. That's not how we are to be operating. So I believe that it would, or I know that it would help us enormously if we try to calm ourselves down. Sometimes you might just need to put something on the back burner, get whoever is on your back off your back so that you can get to a place of calm, because you're not going to be able to recreate and manifest what you want if you are not calm. While you're calm, then you're going to be able to access your mind and create exactly what you want. So think about it. If you're angry and if you're upset, anger and upset is chaos. That's what you're going to manifest. If you want peace and harmony, you got to learn to calm yourself down, which in turn calms your mind down, and you got to be able to think clearly, at peace, not anger. I don't know anybody who can think their way out of any situation if they're angry. You're going to rant and you're going to rave and you're going to go on and on and on and on until you calm down, and then that's when you figure out how to get yourself out of a situation. And so if we want to really change our world, years ago they had all these change your world, change your mind, change your world. It sounded so corny and it sounded so simple, but it is just that simple. There's nothing that has come along that has trumped that. In fact, if we're truly professing to be Moorish scientists, then we ought to be really studying how to control self, because it ain't about what's outside of you. It's all about what's inside of you. And I hear people all the while talking about, well, because I'm a Gemini and I'm a Pisces, or I'm a Aries and Capricorn, or whatever the Trinity might be. They're a slave to this. This is why I act this way. No, you have those particular energies that will create a certain situation, not for you to be at the mercy of them, but for you to overcome them and take command of them. So stop professing to be at the mercy of the energies that you came in under, and start taking control of your life, of you, because it's not about other people. It's about you. Nobody is here to get stuff. Nobody is here to help other people, and not the way we've been mentally conditioned to help people. Really, we help people by helping ourselves. When you start studying, you're going to start changing. That's going to create a different energy vibration, so that wherever you go, you're vibrating at a different rate, and it's going to touch other people, and you're not going to have to say a word. But walking around and yakking to everybody, you're annoying them. And there's a proverb that says you cannot give pearls to a swine. And that might sound insulting, but you know what? Until people get some type of enlightenment, sometimes they can act like swine. That's just the way it is, because we've been mentally conditioned to behave that way. So now until we get up out of that place of behaving in that manner, you're never going to be able to get through people. You're going to irritate them. But when they are ready, they will find themselves. That's all they needed, was for somebody to shut up, study, change their energy vibration, and walk past them. That's it. So, this science, this Moorish science, we call it Moorish science because that's what it is, science of the universe. It is absolutely amazing. And if we did more studying of that, we would have less challenges across the board, because it's all about mastery of self. In the chapter 1 of the 7 Holy Quran, it says man is mind, and everything proceeded out of the mind of man. So when we take a look at our outer world, it is a direct reflection of what's going on in our inner world. So if you want your outer world to be different, you got to work on your inner world. And that nobody can help you with. That's why this is an absolutely divine and national movement. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move into I'm not sure, I'm hoping or trusting that Asim can text me whatever number he's going to be calling in on, because we're going to talk about the right to travel, which always is a big issue. And it's a big issue. It's really not a big issue. It's an issue because more people need to enforce the Constitution, not create workarounds that actually equate to acquiescing. I'm not working around anything. The prophet did not say, go out there and create a workaround. He said, on my word, and enforce the Constitution. That's what he said. He didn't say nothing about creating no workaround. He didn't say go out there and enforce UCCs. He said go out there and enforce the Constitution. All right? He didn't say go out there and create a trust. He said go out there and enforce the Constitution, because your trust was the trust in the land and the people is in the blood, and that predates all of this modern European bullcrap by centuries, millenniums. We just need to know our history. And this is also why the prophet said, you have an illustrious history. Yeah, we got some years where we was doing some questionable stuff, but we got a lot of years of absolutely amazing. Look, we're so amazing that we're on the one hand, we're so out of ourselves. We function so externally that we don't realize that the information that we need is inside of us. But if we was to go inside, we would realize just how amazing we are, because we would tap into that energy, which is in our DNA, that has helped us construct things like pyramids without all of this destructing of the earth. We would know that. All right, that information is in our DNA. Now, when we start going more into ourselves and we tap into that information, we will then begin to realize just how amazing we are as a people, and stop trying to imitate the modern European and their policies and procedures. That's what will happen. That's not going to happen until we go within. Everything that we have, the prophet said, I brought you everything to save a nation. Now, go out and sit down and save yourself. Down and save yourself. What does that mean? That means that we need to stop trying to save everybody while we haven't even begun to work on ourselves. Whew, Lord, we got to stop doing that, because really that is a huge waste of time. A huge waste of time. So our issue at this time is, right now, is our right to travel. Now, resolving this issue on our right to travel, it is about traveling on the land, it's about traveling in the air, and it is about traveling in the sea. Now, if you were with us when we went over the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, one of the definitions, what I'd like to do is to just repeat that definition, if I can just find it real quick. Pass and passport in your Black's Law 4th edition. Yep, here it is. Black's Law 4th edition dictionary. Now, the definition of pass, and let's see, pass is on page 1280, and the definition of passport, hold on a minute, passport is on page 1281. Now, in the definition of pass, it reads, I just had it a second ago. Yeah, pass. And all right, wait. It's past the noun. Permission to pass, a license to go or come, a certificate emanating from authority wherein it is declared that a designated person is permitted to go beyond certain boundaries which, without such authority, he could not lawfully pass. Also a ticket, issued by a railroad or other transportation company authorizing a designated person to travel free on its lines between certain points or for a limited time. The definition of pass. Then we have the definition of passport. I'm not going to read all of it, but it reads passport, maritime. I really don't need to go any further than that because the definition, the first word in the definition of passport is maritime, so they're already telling you that they're talking about ships. Why a flesh and blood divine being would need a passport which equates to you being a ship is a question that needs to be posed. All right? It says maritime, a document issued to a neutral merchant vessel by her own government during the progress of a war to be carried on the voyage to evidence her nationality and protect her against the cruisers of the belligerent powers. This paper is otherwise called a pass, sea pass, sea letter, sea brief. It usually contains the captain's or master's name and residence, the name, property, description, tonnage, and designation of the ship, the nature and quantity of the cargo, the place from whence it comes, and its destination, with such other matters as the practice of the place requires. Now that's the definition of passport. You know right off the bat that they're talking about a ship. Why is this being imposed on the people? This is a question that needs to be posed. Instead of us just going and just acquiescing, doing whatever we're told to do, we need to ask these types of questions. Why? What is this for? And look at the definition alone. The definition alone tells you that absolutely doesn't apply to you. It doesn't apply to people. So why are all these Moors, unconscious, modern Europeans, why? Actually, I don't ever see I don't usually see modern Europeans going and getting a passport. Whenever I'm in the post office, I always see Asiatic. And usually, I guess that would be unconscious Moors. The other thing that we need to look at is letters of marques and reprisals. As affirmed in the American Constitution, I would suggest that you go to the RVBey publications page under What's New, and there is a index for letters of marques and reprisal. Now, when I first read this, I was amazed because these letters of marques and reprisals sound exactly like the registration process. Exactly like the registration process, which is violating the people's right to travel. If we do not speak up, if we don't stand up for our right to travel, these foreigners, these employees, these foreigners, or these employees of these foreign corporations on American soil continue to violate the liberties of the people. This is the way that they generate income because they do not have a product and they do not have a service. And you cannot imply that you are compelling the people to obtain your alleged services, meaning, when it comes to the automobile, people are being compelled under threat of life. It's extortion to give these county, city, town, township, borough people income. What is the income for? They're alleging that they're government. And when you and then they say this is a tax. Well, if you look at the definition of tax, tax says that the definition states that taxes are paid to maintain your government. Well, when did they become our government? All right, you got to know what government means. Government is family. When did they become our family? That we're giving them income, because whether they're extorting it or not, because we are not protesting, the fact that they are getting this income is looked at as a gift. It's a gift because we do not protest, meaning we do not make a public record, meaning we do not sue these corporations like we would any other corporation for extorting income from us, alleging to be our government. At the same time, the records say that they're a corporation. All of this works against us because we do not make a public record. And the only way you can make a public record is if you sue a corporation. And a sue requires you to write up your suit and then, unfortunately, pay whatever the court is demanding, because sometimes you got to do these things because it's a means to an end. You got to go in, you got to pay X amount of Federal Reserve notes to file the suit and get a case number. That makes it a public record. That goes against their insurance. That makes it difficult for them to get liability, indemnity. Everybody calls it a bond. They can't get indemnity insurance to continue their corporate activities. If the people would wake up and start enforcing the Constitution as the prophet said to do, these corporations would be no more, pun intended. So we've got to enforce the Constitution and stop acquiescing and creating these workarounds. And so, what I would like to do is bring on Brother Amexem to, just talk about his demonstration in terms of enforcing the Constitution, because this is what we all have to do. It shouldn't just be a couple of Moors out there doing this. And I'm not saying it's a couple of Moors. Could be a lot of Moors. I just don't know about them. But we need more Moors out there actively enforcing the American Constitution. So with that, I'm going to bring on Brother RVBey to tell, to just enlighten us of his demonstration in terms of his right to travel, which we all can, learn a little bit from. Because, see, here's the thing. Just because we ain't did it or we ain't did it yet, don't mean we can't learn from this. And we can, each of us, sit down, study, come up with a strategy, and then implement it, because the prophet said in First Constitution, and that's what we got to start doing. We got to start enforcing that Constitution. So, Islam, Brother Amexem, are you there?
Islam, I'm here. Can you hear me?
All right.
Yes, well, Islam family, this is RVBey, Northwest Amexem. And I just wanted to go in also to build on what you were saying. These matters start out as... Can
you just turn your phone up just a little bit, your mic or something? You just sound a little far away, even though you are.
How about right? Does that sound better? Is that better?
Mm-hmm. It sounds about the same, but
okay.
Keep on talking.
I'm going to take the phone out of the case and see.
Oh.
How about now?
That sounds a lot better.
All right. So what I want to do is build on and try to get people to understand what consent is. And because these matters start out with these policies enforcers or somebody that's enforcing a policy coming up to you saying that you can't, you don't have a right to do a certain thing, and you do know that you have a right to do it, but then they'll say, well, it's not policy. And then if you say something back to them, then they want to bring the enforcers upon you. And then when they bring the enforcers upon you, now, if you're not studied and you're not building up a certain, I want to say, to use the word courage, because you want to have to take a stand. And it's not just take a stand that you're this big tough guy or woman or anything. You just going to have to toughen up your constitution. You know, that thing that's about, that you are about. And, you know, start questioning them. Well, where's the policy? What is the policy about? I know I have a right. You're taking this right away. So they bring these policies and forces with you, with these guns, and they standing there with guns, and it's 3, 4, 5 of them, and they telling you you can't do this, you don't have the right to do that. And at that moment right there, they are violating your right. Understand that they are violating your right. And when you give into that, because at that moment right there, you have, and I don't want people to think that, okay, you have a matter of tort, but it's a violation that's going on at that moment. You're being violated at that moment right there. And for that violation, it is some remedy. But what happens is that when you consent to it, or when you walk away from it or give into it, you give in consent. So at that moment, if you don't understand that, then when it all goes down, it's as if it wasn't no violation. It wasn't no violation of your rights. We didn't do nothing wrong. Their thing is, look, he consented to it. He gave into it. He gave us what we asked for. He put himself in that jurisdiction. We have to understand that. So one of the things I want to go in on, me and my family wanted to take a trip. And we wanted to travel our ancestral estate from near Arizona to near the Florida area. And we was going to use, we were going by means of flight, by air. So we got the airlines, we got our ticket, and we wanted to take our family down to near the Florida area and get on a cruise ship. So we got as we plan as a family to get paid for our cruise tickets for the family. We paid for our airlines, all right? And so me and my wife was thinking, all right, we nationals, so let's think like a national. We've been traveling our ancestral estate. We've been being accosted, stopped at the airport, being detained unnecessarily, 45 minutes, maybe an hour. So we said, okay, let's think as a national. Let's put these people on notice before we leave where we domiciling at. So what we said, well, all right, who do we have to put on notice? Who are the people that's doing these things at the airport, at these ports? So we said, okay, let's put the Homeland Security for this area on notice. Let's put Homeland Security for the United States on notice. Let's put the cruise line people on notice that we're nationals and that we'll be traveling in these the documents that we are using. So we made the reservations, planned together. We got the trip in order. A couple of weeks before the trip, let's say 2 weeks before the trip, the CEO from the cruise line wants to give us a call telling us that, well, what we did, no, let me back up a little bit. We went online so we can get some pre-boarding tickets in our package for the cruise. When we went online, they started asking all these questions about being a U.S. citizen, where you live at, do you have these U.S. documents, do you have these so-called government documents. So my wife said they keep asking all these questions, so I don't think we should fill this out online, so let's call them and tell them the documents that we do have and what we'll be traveling with. So we gave them a phone call. We told them that we were American nationals and we have a national identification, and that's the identification that we use to identify ourselves if you need anything, any documents, and we also have a travel card. And so they went in asking the questions because understand these policy enforcers, they got critiques of questions that they have in front of them, and those questions begin with what is your name, what is your address, where were you born at, what's your social security number, are you a U.S. citizen? All right? So we get on the phone with somebody. We told them that we've been going online. We wanted to do our pre-porting passes, but we have this here problem that we think that you can help us with. All right? What is the problem, he asked. We said, well, everything on the site is asking if we're a U.S. citizen. If you don't, they ask you if you're a U.S. citizen. If you put no, then a flag come up. You know, sometimes they don't want you to go forward. So we said, well, we want to answer these questions, you know, as honestly, and we don't want to be committing no fraud or anything. So we're not U.S. citizens. We're American nationals. We do not have a passport. We don't have those documents, but we do have our own documents here that ID us and everything. So they went on, are you you're a U.S. citizen? Is it issued from the state where you live at? And he went on and on with that. So we stopped him and said, listen, do you understand we're American nationals? All right. So he had a problem with that. So I asked to speak with the supervisor. Supervisor get on the phone. She goes on. First thing, what is your name? Where do you live at? Are you a U.S. citizen? What is your address? What's your social security number? You know, they all have that. That's the policy. All right. Mm-hmm. So we go in on them. Listen, let's stop. We already been through that. The reason we calling is that we having a problem. We don't have those things, and we're American citizens. And so she went on.
You mean American nationals?
I mean
American nationals.
We're American nationals. So we went on with that. We're American nationals. And so she went on about American nationals. She would leave the phone, come back. Do you have this document? No. She'll leave the phone and come back. Where were you born at? She'll leave the phone, come back. We're American nationals. She was saying something about the U.S. We were saying, listen, explain to me what American national is. So we went in, just in short, that, you know, this is America. And America, we were the people here in America, those people here in America before the United States. And these are the people that are nationals, American nationals that were here before the United States. So we just went brief with that because we don't want to get into all this other stuff on the phones and stuff. We learned in the past not to get in all that, but we just try to brief and just give just a small scenario. So she says, well, I understand. And then she went into this thing about policy. So she leaves the phone, come back. She says, well, are you Native American or Indian? So we said, well, we're not Indian. She left the phone. She came back. She said, well, what kind of ID you have? I said, well, we have our own ID that was, issued to us. And so she says, oh, well, that ID should be good. So that gave me the impression that it's people that's traveling without passports. Now, they might call them Indians. I don't know what type of situation that so-called American Indians might have with the government or with these people. But that gave me the impression that it's people that's traveling without passports because they say, oh, well, you can just bring your documents and that should be good enough. So I said, okay, good. We just wanted to get this here clear before we come down there. And I said, well, listen, I took the name, said, listen, document that on the computer and everything was fine. We just wanted to be sure because we was having this here problem about pre-registering. So a week before the cruise now, that was 2 weeks before the cruise. A week before the cruise, we get a phone call. Phone call is the CDO, a representative for the cruise line who received our communication. And what we did was wrote a communication. Me and my wife, my grandchildren and nephew would be traveling and their appellations and things, and we send them a copy of a load of our identifications and everything. These are documents that we will be using. Thank you as the conversation that we had on the line. All right. So she gets the letter. She calls and says, well, that communication that you had, we don't recognize that here at the cruise line, nor any foreign government ID to that effect. We said, oh, no, I thought we took care of this here already, and we just putting y'all notice this is what we be using. We already paid for our voyage and things. We paid for our ticket and everything. And, oh, no, we don't recognize that. And she was going on, well, then you have any other type of ID? Nothing. No, that's the identification that we use, that's who we are. She went on and on. Okay, where did you live at? Where were you born at? The same policy questions here again, over and over. It's the same thing. So she said, well, you won't be able to go on the cruise. We're going to cancel that cruise, and we want to talk. She was calling now to let us know that we just shouldn't be leaving near the Arizona area to come to near the Florida area to board the ship because they're canceling our cruise. Now, it's a week before the cruise. Now, if anybody out there been on cruises or things, you know that they tell you that they have a policy about if you canceling your cruise, it had to be 2 months before the cruise or something. You don't get your deposits back. You don't get these things back. So I asked her, so you canceling the cruise, you keeping our money. She says, yeah, you don't get your deposit back. And it was your obligation to get the documents that you needed to show. I said, well, we have the documents that we need to show to identify ourselves. So we went through that, and then she said, well, we canceled the cruise. I said, well, look, as of right now, this conversation, this communication is terminated. I won't be talking to you. All that you said, could you please send a letter to that effect? Yeah, I'll send a letter, but the letter won't get to you in time with the cruise. And what I'm trying to do is communicate with you now so that you don't appear here at the ship. So we said again, I'm not saying no more. I will be, just like your CEO got the first communications, we'll be communicating with him with any further matters. Oh, well, you can call me. No, we won't be calling you. We'll be calling.
That's right.
Sending a letter to the CEO. All right. She hung up. All right. Now, we did have a travel agency involved in this here matter. So they were calling the travel agency, and the travel agency called us saying that they were all upset about this here. They said we didn't have the proper documents. They went through this whole slew. We told them, listen, we called them. They said, just bring your documents. That was the last communication. Now we get this here call the week before the cruise after we made plane reservations and all these things, and they want to cancel the cruise, don't want us to come. She said, yeah, they'll cancel it. She said, listen. So the travel agency said, well, if they got a passport or anything, can they still come on the cruise? They said, no, they've been red flagged now. They will not be able to board cruise with our cruise line. All right? So we was like, wow, we've been flagged. What were we flagged for? You know, She said, oh, we don't know, but that's not. They didn't say, but they did say that they're canceling your cruise and they will be giving you a full refund within 5 days. We said, wow. I thought she said her policy was not to give no refund and everything. So I told my wife, I said, listen, we're going down to Florida. Well, before that call, we made it up our mind that we was going down to Florida and be turned away. But after they got the phone call from the travel agent, all right, we went to Florida, but we didn't go to the cruise ship because at that point I was figuring they figured that they returned our refund back, that they did whatever, and now there's going to be a big controversy that they would be ready for. Now, had they not did that, that would be another situation. But and listen and understand, that morning of the 5th day, the monies was back in the account. The Federal Reserve notes was back into the account. And I was like, wow, isn't that funny? So, in other words, if we was responsible to get these things, then why? And they saying we didn't have them, why did they refund our money? That's right. What we was figuring. Because we told them we had the documents that we used, and one of the questions I did ask her, well, these documents that you keep telling us, where are you getting that from? You know, that's just the policy. So you know what it is now. So, we just have to, we're addressing the CEO, dealing with that matter because, listen, that's a violation against all national rights to travel.
Yep.
Understand, the seas is free to travel. They're ours to travel by any means of conveyance. Boat, ship, and what they did was violated our right to travel. After we had purchased the ticket and paid for it fully, we already had our pass. We already had our pass in hand. Now they want to refund us the Federal Reserve notes of the past. Now, and they did that on their own without our consent.
That's right.
Canceling the cruise. So therefore, they were in direct violation of our right to travel. So now that's the cruise issue. Now there's airport issue. And what's going on at these airports. This has to be understood, family. We put Homeland Security, gave them proper notice, everything. which you really don't have to do that. We thought that we would do that because our thing is, listen, we shouldn't be violated, detained, molested, no hour, half an hour, going through hoops and everything, answering the same questions at this here point of contact on your way to boarding a flight with a ticket that you paid for, all right? So we say, okay, let's do this here. Let's be active. We'll put them on notice with our identification and everything. And in our mindset is this. You on notice now. We got rescinded registered mail. We got our green cards back. We know you got the communication. When we come through now, if we're detained, in our minds we said more than a half an hour because we do know how crowded some of these airports are. So we said with more than a half an hour, we detained after we put you on notice, then that's an automatic tort within hours to us getting to a computer or something. That's an automatic tort because you've been put on notice and there's no need for it. So we can show up to the airport. We know the frontline people are not educated to the fact, but we do know that the supervisors and these people, we know that these so-called policy enforcers and security and policemen, we know they have what they call where they get together talking about the plan of the day and what to look out for. So we put them on notice that this here, and so when they seen those ID cards, they knew that we was coming through there. So the frontline people took the card and said, oh, I need to talk to my supervisor. I've never seen these before. I said, okay, call your supervisor. They called the supervisor. So the white shirt comes over. He grabs the cards. I can see the cards burning in his hands. He didn't even want to hold them. He says, oh, you can't travel today with these. We said, okay. So we stood there. So he looked at me. I looked at him. And understand these signs that Annie is talking about, signs and symbols. He looked at me. I looked at him. He called another supervisor or his assistants under him, gave her the cards, and he disappeared. She comes over. Oh, well, come with me. All right. Now, at that point of contact, we had our grandson there and a nephew there. So another person comes over and takes place of the original person that we met at the point of contact. And so they there with an ink pen. They looked in the IDs. They checking the names, the appellations on the tickets and stuff. So they said, which one are you? To my grandson and to my nephew, which one are you? So my nephew, Zaire, okay. Which one are you? Prince. Now, there's only two of them. But now, listen, they actually questioning them, acting like they doing their job with the tickets to see tickets indeed for them. So they check them off, hand them to them. So the assistant supervisor that they gave the cards, IDs to handle the situation, she comes up and then that person says, well, listen, their IDs, the names, everything matched, and these two tickets are for the two children here and everything. They said, okay, come with me. So we put our stuff on the belt. They brought these brown containers. They usually have the gray ones. They brought these brown containers, told us to put our stuff in the brown containers. So we put our stuff in the brown containers. You know the routine, take your shoes, belt off. The children, you don't have to take your shoes and belt if you're under 12. Y'all can just come on through. I'm like, wow, come on with this here. So they go on through. Then they tell me, well, me and my wife, we're going to have to do a pat down and this and that. Do you mind us doing it? Yeah, we do mind. We really don't consent, but that's one of the things you have to do going through it. We don't consent to that. So we go through. They were about the safety issues, and that's what they always bring up is the safety. The reason why, one of the reasons why is safety. But then look, they let the children and all the other children do with their shoes on and things. I'm like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
So what's that about? So we go through, my wife goes through, they call for a woman to give her a slight pat down. I come through, nothing. So I go over, get our bags and everything. So now they want to do like the little bomb search or whatever with, the bags and everything. And listen, I don't mind because I do want to be protected. Matter of fact, the whole idea of putting them on notice is so that we will be protected and not molested.
That's right.
All right? So that's the whole idea. So we don't mind safety and things, but don't detain us there for an hour or something, having us stand on the side while you passing people through and going through that. Don't play those mind games with us. That's our whole thing. We agree to the security thing and everything. We don't want to be blown up or whatever, if that's what it is. I'm just saying. So we go through, they go through our bags and everything. Then they said, well, you got to get checked through again. So now I said all that to paint this here scenario to get to this point right here. All right? We're standing there. We done been through all that. We done been through the checkpoint there. We getting our bags. Here come this woman, all nice and everything, comes up to me. She says, oh, I never seen an ID like that before. I said, oh, no. She said, listen, can I get a copy of that ID? Can I see it? I just want to study that ID, for myself because, I just was ignorant to the facts, so I just wanted to study it for myself. She said, it's going to bother me all day. I said, listen, sweetheart, don't let it bother you. No, don't let it bother you at all. And you can't have a copy of that ID. It's staying in my pocket. Now, I'm saying that to get this understood because what's happening is that you go through that checkpoint. TSA does what they were supposed to do, I guess, even though I think that sometimes they're a little overzealous. They go through what they're supposed to do. Now, they don't have no jurisdiction to do anything else. Now, this here girl comes over to me after working there. I don't know how many thousands of people comes through this area. We know that a lot of Canadians, we know that a lot of Mexicans, we know a lot of people coming in, islanders and stuff come in through Arizona, leave through that airport, and they all have different IDs, and she's going through all this here. Now, had I pulled out that ID card and handed it to him, at that point right there, I have given her consent to do whatever she wanted to do with that ID card. And what we find out...
And you.
Say it again, Andy? And
you would have
exactly.
That's right. To do anything with that ID and you.
That's right, because that is my ID and who I am. So
that's right.
And so when we was hearing other stories about people that this has happened to, now with my wife, a similar thing happened to her. She came through, and this is at a different time. She had came through, and they let her through. She got to the other side. A lady comes up to her and says, well, can I make a copy of that ID? Well, she took the ID and made a copy of it. And my wife said, what is that in your hand? She said, oh, it's a copy of your ID for study. My wife says, listen, I didn't give you no consent to copy that. That is mine. Either you shred that, give it to me, shred that right now. So she said, well, I'm going in the back and shred this. My wife said, no, I'm going to go in the back with you and send it through the shredder. She said, oh, you can't go through there. Well, then give it to me. Well, she started tearing it up in all little pieces and everything. All right? So what we've come to know is that, and hearing stories from other people, that this secondary check after you through there, they going through running these IDs through some other system, and if someone has a warrant or some type of violation, then they are accosting you and arresting you or doing things to you that shouldn't be done. And it's all because you give consent. So let's really, truly understand that we must think like nationals, and we must understand consent and how consent is given. It's given verbally, non-verbally, because if somebody charges you with something and you don't rebut it, you know, and stay silent on the matter, it's a little different than staying mute. When you stay silent on the matter, you know, it's like you giving consent, or consent is given through your actions, you know, but not even thinking. They want to use a story and say, oh, I just want to study that for myself, or Google it. Can I see your card? You just gave that your identification to them for to study you. And put yourself,
that's right.
Like taking yourself and putting yourself in handcuffs, you know, just giving them permission to do what they want with you. So that really has to be understood, and we wanted to drive that point home with a demonstration of what we have in Islam.
That's important. Yeah, I just wanted to interject here because I want to make it real clear what you're saying, because a lot of people who have not gone to the airport or who will be going rate this is exactly what's happening, because we've talked to a few other people, and you went through the customs of the airport, and you're boarding, you're going through the checkpoint, you're done. You know, you're done. You're in there. Then somebody comes up, you know, like, you know, with that conniving thing as this other woman did that has nothing to do with you already getting into the airport, because what they've done is, and we want to bring this out to people, what they're doing is always been stalkers. Those are the local so-called enforcement or whatever that has figured out a way, because they're leeches. That's what colonists are. They're leeches. And it's colluding with, really stalking out at the airports, and have been, someone has agreed with this collusion, where now that you as a national have come through, they come and really stalk you, right, to see if, or try to see if they can figure out what connection you may have under their fake jurisdiction, yes indeed, so that they, like you just said, and they'll run the thing to see if you got any warrants or whatever like that. That's what you're doing. The important thing is that people recognize and do what you did, and basically do consent with them, because you just went through the airport. These people are not a part of that, and that they don't do it. Now, if Moors start consenting, which, as you said, is the message you want to get clear tonight, if you start doing it, then they'll start, these corporations that are colluding, these locals, they'll start using that as a practice, because Moors have allowed and consented to do it. Thereby, you will be giving them the energy that they need to have to continue to do this. Do not give them that energy, because they're nothing but stalkers. They stalk you on the highway. They figured out how to stalk everywhere, because that's what they do. So it's important, after you get through the airport, because this has been happening a lot, here comes someone else, and you think they're authority, and you start consenting with them. Do not deal with them. They're not a part of the act of any authority, really. They're just trying to catch who they can, because that's what they are, leeches. Islam.
Yes.
Islam.
I just want to make mention about this TSA that you mentioned, because a lot of people don't understand that. Look, the United States of America, all right? Because we're not talking about the United States. We're talking about the United States of America. They have of recent started contracting away or contracting out certain administrative functions. Now, TSA, their name gives it away. It says Transportation Security Administration. Whenever you see that word administration, that's code for contractor. They are a contractor. And they are a contractor that was established. This is just some brief Googling that I'm doing here. Now, I'm not even getting into nothing heavy. They allege that this what do you call it, Transportation Security Administration Corporation, they dropped the corporation, was created as a response to the September 11th attack, all right? So it doesn't necessarily say that it was established in 2001, but the first administrator that they had, it looks like, was in 2002. So they started this contracting company in 2001, and then they went into operation in 2002 with their first, what do they call them? Their first, what is this person's title? The first administrator. Look at that. That's the first administrator was somebody. Where's that name? I just saw it a minute ago. But if we look on if we Google in Wikipedia, it shows us right here some of the things that they are doing. Now, what's important to know is that even though here they are alleging that they have some authority, because we have to know how government, we got to know how corporations operate. What this corporation did was they saw that there was a service to be offered. So they established this Transportation Security Administration Corporation. They put forth a business plan proposal, which would be likened to a charter. They submitted it to the federal government. We could have done the same thing, by the way, if we could just stop fighting each other and organize a little bit. They submitted it to the federal government, supposedly the federal government. We don't know who the federal government is these days, all right, because ain't no Moors on board. So in order for this to actually go into action, there has to be what they call there has to be some sort of writing, some sort of law. Can't be a statute, because now a statute is letting you know that what they just started was some sort of merchant affairs, all right? They started a merchant operation. Merchant operations don't have jack to do with people, all right? So now when you go and you look at the history of this Transportation Security Administration Corporation, it says that they got established. Now, they got established in 2001, 2002 under some U.S. code, United States Department of Transportation Code, which is referenced as, hold on a minute. I just referenced as Title 49 of the United States Code. Now, under Title 49, you got everything to do with transportation. So what we are supposed to be able to do is go into this Title 49 and read exactly what the Transportation Service Administration Corporation can do. It's supposed to be spelled out. Now, what I like to do is I like to just write them and ask them, I need to see your delegation of authority and or charter. Now, while I'm waiting for them to provide me with that, I'm online Googling it and trying to find some stuff on my own independently, because I know these people are liars, and they're probably not going to provide me with anything. And then if they do, they might, because a lot of times what they like to do, and let me just say, it's not that they like to do it, they really don't have any delegation of authority. So what they'll do is they'll say, oh, you can go to the website. No, I'm not going to the website. Why are you not going? I don't have internet access. I don't care if I do. My internet access is for me and my pleasure. It's not for me to be trying to figure out what the hell you wrote, and you sitting here talking about it's the law. Okay, well, if it's the law, you need to be able to put it in my hand so I can read it. The same thing applies with our right to travel on the land. If you go to the Department of Motor Vehicle, which, by the way, is another contracting corporation, they do the same thing. How many people have gone down to the Department of Motor Vehicle and asked them for the policies and the procedures, the terms and the conditions of traveling on the land? I mean, it's not going to cost you anything but a little bit of time. But if you go down there, you will get an idea. And, I mean, when I say go down there, go down and ask for the law. Say, I need a copy of the law regarding traveling on the land. These people will let you know that they don't know nothing. They don't know nothing. They are just repeating like monkeys what they have been told. And when you ask them, they all got to have a meeting, just like what happened with Sam when he called these different places. Everybody got to get together and have a little spontaneous meeting to figure out what to say. And if you press it, what you're going to find is there is no law. Now, if there is no law, and all this time they telling you it's the law, then there's a problem somewhere. Okay, you ain't produced the law. And this is why you want to ask them. You want to do the asking should be done in writing. I need for you to produce the law at least 3 times, because see, once you show that you made a noble effort to get this law, and it was not provided to you, now you can move in to sue them because they are violating your liberties. How are they violating your liberties? They're telling you that you can't do something because it's the law, but they ain't never provided the law for you to read and know for yourself. So is it some special law? Is it some secret law? Is only certain people supposed to know it? And if that's the case, why is it being imposed on me? I mean, we as Moors, really, I'm going to tell you, one of the biggest challenges we have is we just don't get how much power we have. And the reason we don't get how much power we have is because these modern Europeans, they have mentally conditioned us to the point where much of what we want to do is fearful to us. And fear paralyzes you, so you don't do anything. But we can do little things that's not going to cause a big to-do. When I say it's not going to cause a big to-do, I mean we can do little things that's not going to get us kidnapped. And a lot of times we don't even have to leave the house. Right, Asem? I mean, Asem did a lot of what you did. A lot of your legwork was done sitting at home on the phone. You followed it up with a writ. Sometimes with the call didn't even happen until after the writ was sent out. You know, we got to stop going and visiting these people like they are friends. They're not our friends. Stop going and visiting them. Put your question in a writ and send it out. Put a stamp on it and send it out. Because you're gathering, and then make sure you put Exhibit A or Exhibit B or something in there, because you need to let people know, okay, I'm building a case. You don't need to intimidate them, but there's little things that you can do to let people know you're building a case. You don't even got to put Exhibit A or B on there beforehand, because you can do it afterwards. But we really got to be proactive. Really, right now, it's like, there's active Moors down out there, but we need more. We need more in order for our right to travel to be effectuated. We need more.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And to that point, yes, sit home, because you have to understand, you don't want to be seen, and you don't want to put yourself in harm's way, in the sense that and let's be conscious and think about this here, because sometimes we found that you can go and you can talk with some of the policy enforcers. And when I say policy enforcers, I mean when you go into the different administrations and stuff like that, the frontline people that's there, and you can ask them certain questions so you can see where the point where they can help you. But you don't want to put yourself in a situation visiting these people that and understand, some of these frontline people, they actually and truly really don't know. They don't know. All they know is the policy there. But it is those who do know. And so you don't want to put yourself in a way where you arguing with them and then they push the button, and then here come these other policies enforcers to protect the corporation. You raised your voice, you made a threatening manner, those things. Sit at home, put your thoughts together, put it down on paper, and practice that. That and send them a letter and send it to the proper person, because you will get a response. You will get a response. You see, we got a response a week before the cruise. I mean, one way or the other, but we did get a response. That's my point. So put it together. Understand that your writs and even, your letters and stuff are being answered and are being looked at. And understand that. Put it out there and keep doing it. It's other people who aren't Moors, and they're in their proper person, and they don't give up none of their rights.
Yep.
They don't give up none of their rights. Matter of fact, the United States of America was built on that. They don't give up none of their rights. So we got to stop that.
Yes.
We got to stop that as Moors. Understand, we have a right to life. We have a right to live. You was born with a right to life once you came out of the mother. Once you were created, you have a right to life. A right, not a privilege to life.
That's right.
Not a privilege to eat, not a privilege to be housed, not a privilege to clothe yourself, not a privilege to defend yourself. You have a right.
And just
that.
to support that, you know what? In support of that, I would suggest, and I think we did this on one of our previous broadcasts, and I believe it might be on the MHHS Facebook page, but the definition of liberty, oh my goodness. When you talk about liberties, people have absolutely no idea how all-encompassing the word liberty is. Liberty your right to have a roof over your head, clothes on your back, your right to peace, to live in peace, to be peacefully left alone, to do pretty much whatever you want to do as long as you're not invading somebody else's space. Liberty is absolutely all-encompassing. And so I would suggest that people go to their Black's Law 4th edition dictionary and go and pull out the entire definition of liberty, because all of that is case law. And when you start reading through it, what you're going to find is that people, your liberties are being violated on a daily basis. Now, what we as a people, both Moors, conscious, and those other citizens that are active, because, you know, the prophet said, Europeans are helping me, you know, why aren't you? So we already know that there's some minor Europeans that are helping. There's some active Moors. What we all need to do collectively is we need to make a list of things that we would like to address. And then once you make a list, based on your right, your constitutionally secured liberty, all right, you want to make a list. Then what you want to do is prioritize your list. What would you like to work on right now? And because we are in catch-up mode and we're learning, take the least, whatever is on your list that is the least challenging. Start there first. Don't go starting with trying to claim the whole planet Earth. That's too much. Start with something simple, something easy, something that you can, you know, get your hands in wet doing. Because when you do it, and then, you know, prioritize it based on the easiest to the most difficult, and then with those that are the most easiest, prioritize what you want to work on first. Don't be functioning from ego and I want to claim a $50 million house, and, you know, or I want to claim an island, you know. Let that ego stuff go. I want a 50-car garage with 50 cars. Let that go. Let that go. Start with something simple. Something really simple. And, you know, I don't know what is more simpler than your right to travel, because we're talking about people's right to travel now. I would suggest that we start with our right to travel on the land, because what point is there, you know, if we can get that down, then we can move on to our right to travel on the air, because that TSA, that right there, if we knock out our right to travel on the land, it's a hop, skip, and a jump just to, you know, to get to right to travel in the air, because when we do the research on this TSA, they claim to be an agency of Homeland Security. Homeland Security is something that was just recently created. Homeland Security is an administration as well, which means that they're a contractor. And this all falls under the Department of Transportation. When did people's right to travel become a transportation issue? As though the people is cargo.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I just got a text. I think it was from Lucas. He was saying that right to the CEO also of TSA, because they have to report to someone. I'm not sure. Yeah, exactly. Because, see, here's the deal. If there was an issue with TSA, if they had some issue, this corporation, this agency, who would they call? It would have to be a federal question. So, like, they're just there, as you said, getting paid as extra security, you know, and giving a job to people, you know. And
exactly. And you know what? And that right there. Now, when we start looking at our captivity, our restrictions on our liberty, everybody, you got to look at things objectively, because you know, from the place, from a position of being close to us, the closest corporations that are accosting the people right now is the county, city, town, township, boroughs. These are corporations, right? So we need to look into their authority and how they are operating, because if we can't even travel down the street, I granted the airport could be on the other side of wherever you are. It could be like maybe 50 miles away, or maybe 30 miles away. But if you can't get there because you can't travel on the land, you know what I mean? What's the point? What is the point? We're supposed to pay everybody else so that we can travel on our own land? Because, you know, one of the solutions, so-called solutions that these people come up with is, well, if you don't have a driver's license, you can just call a taxi. Okay, well, that costs a lot of finance. Well, you're that's your only option. How is that my only option? And who made the decision that that is my only option? I mean, a lot of these corporations are making judicial decisions, and they have no judicial authority. You know, that we got to look at things, really, we got to look at things objectively, and we've got to really, they're all in our faces with it. It's not really difficult. Really, when you look at it, it's not difficult. It really shouldn't be difficult either, because what they're counting on us not doing is the research. What's the history of these corporations? How did they get started? What are they really? Where do they derive their authority? I mean, because look, the 9th and 10th Amendment combined says that all powers are delegated. So who delegated this? And on behalf, I mean, when you look at all of these things, they're telling you that this is being done for the sake of corporations. And that's all well and good, because all of these policies and procedures and codes and statutes, they're supposed to be imposed on corporations. But when did the people become corporations? Now, I know that everybody's like, well, you know, because we got Social Security and we got the birth certificate, we're a corporation. Prove that. I mean, you can't just say it. How you going to prove that? Well, you know, we got the birth certificate. Explain to me how showing me a document that says birth certificate is evidence that you are being treated as though you're a corporation. Where's the evidence of that? Because right now that's all I hear is hearsay. I mean, really, you got to be able to show this. Now, when you start looking at the history of this Transportation Security Administration, you look at their policy, what they're supposed to be doing, and when you look at Homeland Security, what they're supposed to be doing, and then you look at the fact that it all falls under the Department of Transportation. Okay, so when did my travel become a Department of Transportation issue? I am not a corporation. I do not have a ship. I do not have a truck. I do not have a train. All right? I am not transporting cargo. I am simply traveling free and clear on the land. And if you're a Moor, it's your ancestral estate. All right? So when did I become an issue of the Department of Transportation? Please, can somebody explain that to me? Because there's no, you see what I'm saying? These are the questions that must be asked in a very light manner. You're not accusing, you're seeking information. And then always keep in mind, the 9th and 10th Amendment, all powers are delegated. So when did I delegate security of me to you. And how are you being paid for this? Because I don't recall paying for that. I don't recall delegating that authority to you either. And nobody can delegate on my behalf. And if there is somebody delegating on my behalf, who is that? I mean, we have to be in the business of gathering information. Can't just run out there flying by the seat of our pants. We have so much evidence of what happens when Moors run out there flying by the seat of their pants. You can't do that.
That's funny because to that point, first becoming conscious. I always tell, like I told y'all this here story, even about I don't know, almost 30 years ago, when I went into a tribunal or court, and I did these things myself. I went up into the law library, found out how you can change your name, read up about it, found out you can change your name any day of the week, long as that you're not doing it to commit any fraud, avoiding any debts and these things. You can call yourself what you want. These was Pennsylvania state statutes and codes, right? And so then I petitioned the court, wrote out the petition, changed my name, went to court, filed the petition, went to the court. The judge says, well, why you want to change your name? I said, because of personal religious reasons. And he said, oh, man, that's great. It's the judge. He reached over the bench. He said, oh, man, that's a great, noble thing. I said, okay, good, thanks. He wrote the decree and everything. And guess what I do? I go out and fill out a Social Security application, put the new name on it. I go out and get the birth certificate, put the new name on it, and all these things. But my point is this, like you just said, don't run out there, with that energy, just running out there doing these things. I did all that research up in the law library about changing name, correcting name, what I have to do. But then the Social Security and the birth certificate, I did that because that's what people was doing. You follow what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And man, and I did it with a fury, and then later on I was like, wow, check that out. Check that out. So,
now go ahead. Things that I wanted to mention, I was going down this thought and it got lost in the wind somewhere, but I got it back. When we look at these county corporations, and inclusive of the Department of Security Administration, whatever they're calling themselves, and then the so-called Homeland Security. Now, it's interesting that you got a bunch of foreigners talking about this as Homeland Security, and this ain't even their home. But we have to look at the counties, cities, township, boroughs, the so-called Homeland Security, foreign land security, this so-called Transportation Security Administration corporation, because they always conveniently drop the corporation portion, but they're corporations. Our challenge as a people is that many of us, we got Moors who work for these agencies. We got Moors that work for these corporations. And with in the foreign land security, they say on Wikipedia they have 200,000 employees. They got 240,000 employees. these 240,000 employees, their liberties are being violated by the very people they're working for. Their liberties are being violated for the very people they're working for, yet they feel like they're getting over because they're receiving a paycheck. The same thing applies to the county, city, town, township, borough. Every employee of the county, city, town, township, borough, all right, they're receiving a paycheck. But they are also compelled to get a driving instrument, register their property, insure it, and if they travel without any of those instruments, they may get kidnapped. Their automobile or their motor vehicle may get stolen. But the very thing that they're out on the street imposing on other people to get a paycheck, they themselves are suffering behind. How crazy is that? That is sick. That is sick. That is some mental conditioning. There are people who are listening to this broadcast right now who work for a county, city, town, township, borough. You can't make too many waves because you might lose your job. Now you have no Federal Reserve notes coming in. So it's like you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. We go out there and you know, you got people, you got Moors going out on the street trying to enlighten other people. They're not even enlightening themselves, but they going out onto the street trying to enlighten other unconscious Moors, and they're hitting a brick wall, and a lot of times they're irritating the people, the very people that they're trying to wake up, because many of them work in these arenas. So now you're looking at these people and you're saying, you know, you don't have to have a driver's license, or you don't have to register your property, or you don't have to have insurance. There's no law for that. Have you ever asked? They work in these areas. They work for these corporations, and they're looking at you like, what are you, crazy? We know family members. I got a family member that works in one of those areas. He's trying to get a job where they administer the passport. What do I say to him?
Wow.
And he's trying to get into that area, climb up the ladder, get X amount of more Federal Reserve notes so that he can accost his own people, and guess what? Himself too. Some mental conditioning. That's what we are dealing with. That's why, listen, if you are a Moor and you're listening here to this broadcast and you get it, you better pat yourself on the back, boy, because it ain't too many that's getting it. It really ain't. This is not for everybody. Give yourself a big round of applause because you woke up. Tomorrow when you go walk down the street, you're going to see who didn't wake up. Everybody got the call. Everybody got the call, but you woke up.
Yes. Yeah. Wow, what a great point.
Yeah. I mean, it's deep. This is really, really deep what where we are. It looks like, oh my God, another hardship. But if we can just get past that, if we can just calm down just a little bit, it don't matter what's going on. Just calm down a little bit and know that, look, the prophet said it don't matter what it looked like. It's all going to be in the hands of the Moors in the end. All right? It's all going to be in the hands of the Moors. That's all there is. And every prophecy that prophet had written about, it has come to fruition. So I have no doubt that this too is going to come to fruition. So just study. When it looks like it's getting to be overwhelming, as it will, just take a break. Just take a break for a minute. Go sit out in the sun if possible. Go sit in the bathtub and just put some bubble bath in there and just chill out. Do something just to relax for a second, for a couple minutes, for an hour or two, for the rest of the day or the whole day. Just do something just to chill out for a minute, because when things get like this, where it gets to be so overwhelming, something good's got to be getting ready to pop. So just chill out for a minute, hold on, and just keep on moving forward. But keep on moving forward with your studies, because you're going to need the information. You're so going to need the information.
You're saying something good's got to pop when it's getting like this. At the same time, these people who are out there who put food on their plate from our ignorance and our virtues at the same time. I was just told that that they proposed at one of these corporate states to give tickets to people who are walking down the street and texting. See, so while that's happening, where we're coming into a place, they're still out there with their net trying to catch people in any way they can who are not aware and who will receive such a ticket and think that it's law because they think otherwise. You see what I'm saying? So you can tell that it's all true by the ridiculousness that they create such a ticket. They're hungry. You said it earlier. Mm-hmm. They do not produce a product. They're not government. They are disguised as such. They go on a road disguise, which is what Title 18 USC, United States Code Title 18 is all about. And also I was just speaking with someone and they were saying, well, some people just aren't ready. They aren't ready. They need to, operate and do business and have an LLC or this or that. We were just talking about it. And, because they're just not ready. I said, listen, under the jurisdiction of a corporation, what the heck? You know what I mean? It's like right now, even these churches that are nonprofit, they're asking them to report what people put in the donation plate because that's how hungry they are. Why? Because they are operating under their jurisdiction. So the days of, just like you said, workarounds or whatever are over. It is about either you are or you are not. You know what I mean? You know that improper slang statement says it is you is or is you ain't. I mean, that's just where it is. You can't serve two masters. Those people who feel like they need to go ahead and still get these things under the jurisdiction in order to do business, in order to be the original merchant of the world that you are, which is something different from commerce, totally, right? If they feel like they have to do that, all we're saying is you're going to be in bigger trouble because they're so hungry that they're going to go into your pocket so deep because you have agreed to be under their jurisdiction and because you think that they're your authority over you. So it is no longer. It's more dangerous now for people continue to be in this mental mindset.
Yeah.
And as we had said, a couple of weeks ago, if you're going to stay in that set, then you're up for grabs, and somebody will treat you as someone else will take over because you'll believe anything. You'll go into anything. You need to have someone that tells you or that you think is over you as an overseer, which is really plantation mentality, right? So if you are still in that mental slavery position, somebody will come in and take your hand and buy you and pull you right along. That's all you're going to get. You're not going to get anything else because these wheels of this corporation that has been feeding as government are going to stop. And when they do, as you said, it's all going to be back in the hands of the natural people, period. and the law to govern us all in right and in just is already established. And if everyone would just simply follow that, nobody would be molested. So that's why it is a supreme issue. You know, I know that there's going to be some time of some great chaos, and most of that is going to be because those who are not Aboriginal indigenous to the land, those who thought that they were Americans but are really not, they're a citizen of some rank, are going to be extremely upset. They're going to be in the streets. They're already doing crazy things. And when they find out that all that they supposedly worked for is not really there, you know, people are finding that out already because they have had their so-called 401ks already hit once or twice. They got to go back to work just to have finance to live when they thought they didn't. And all it's already happening. So, you know, that's the time when we just have to really, really bunker down and hold on for a quarter, which means 3 months, which means 90 days, which means a square, you know, which is so that we can turn that corner. Mm-hmm.
And to that, I want to say or make a comment. So understanding that, knowing that, and in that time period, we have to be putting ourselves in position so that we're able to govern, huh?
Absolutely.
I don't know government and what it is. You know, because
government is family. Wait. Government is family. So this is all about the uniting of Asia, which is uniting of family. So now, like was demonstrated last night, there's a few people out there that just don't want to unite the family.
Right.
I mean, but look, in order for the government to be effectuated, the family has to unite. If the family don't unite, government will not be effectuated. We can't take our place. People get it twisted. They think, oh, well, you know, I got to go petition some government. And, you know, and their mama is sitting right behind them, and they totally ignoring her. She is the government. You're going to look outside of the family for government when the government is sitting right behind you, probably sitting right next to you, telling you, don't go out the door. I got a bad feeling about this. And what do? You don't even listen to the government. You go right outside the door and get into a situation, and now you're separated for some time from government, which is your mother. It's crazy.
Understood.
We don't get it. It's about the United. Look, I don't understand, and I said this when I first read the Prophet's Work, because I got all of the books about, you know, that was referencing writing or references of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and I read every last one of them, and I didn't get why is it that this is in 2008. I didn't understand why people wasn't getting it in 2008, and I don't get why people don't get it in 2016. But it's right there in our faces.
You know, there's something else too. Look, you know how you hear those, we used to hear it all the time. How you hear people say, well, we've got to start our own government. They don't even understand what government is.
Nope.
Right. And, you know, they think that they have this ideology of what has been indoctrinated with them. Well, where's the building? Well, where's it? You know, they really miss it completely. But I would say that I'm not going to say the government would not be effectuated because government exists anyway, with or without those buildings, and with or without those people who want to honor and recognize it. It still is existing. That's what's going down now with those who are. But what you're saying is the family itself. That's why the Prophet said, listen, you need each other, but you're going to need each other more later. And then you have these divisionists who, and the only reason they really, I think, divisionists is because they really lack study. They really lack the understanding of what it is. So now they may need more time to learn. And that may be true, but the truth is they got to hurry up and learn, which may or may not happen. But that's what they need. That's what we all need to do, because we've all been duped into, as it says in the scriptures, it says, "Who shall fall even the most elite?" Well, there we are. It's not that difficult. Right.
Exactly. Now, I just want to make a reference real quickly, because I was looking for some more information on this Transportation Security Administration Corporation. Right now, I want people to follow along. There's so much more research and investigation to do on this, but I grew, and this is right on Wikipedia, so you can go and grab the information and follow along, or you can just listen and go and grab it later. All right? On Wikipedia, the Transportation Security Administration Corporation, it was formed. Now, whenever you see the word formed, founded, established, settled, that's the start of a company. It says it was formed November 19, 2001. Now, what's interesting is it says the preceding agency was called the Federal Aviation Administration Corporation. Did you hear what I said, Sam? This is Federal Aviation Administration. Now they changed their name to Transportation Security Administration. Now they're inside the airport and they're accosting the people. Right? Now, this alleges that the Transportation Security Administration is an agency of the United States Department of Homeland Security. The Department of Homeland Security, now listen to what I'm saying now, it says that they're an agency of the Department of Homeland Security, but the Department of Homeland Security was formed in November 25th, 2002, a year after the Transportation Security Administration was formed. How is it an agency of an agency that was formed a year later? All right. Then it says the jurisdiction of the Homeland Security is the United States of America. That's not a landmass.
That's right. That's right.
Then it says the Department of Homeland Security is the third largest cabinet department after the Department of Defense and Administration. So I was like, okay, so what is a cabinet? I go and I look up Cabinet of the United States. Well, guess what? This is saying that the cabinet is an executive department. The cabinet is an executive. The Homeland Security is executive. And the TSA, the Transportation Security Administration, is executive. What does that mean when we look at the American Constitution? These are all executive branches. Where the hell is the law and who wrote it that they are administering?
So when they're saying go ahead.
Go ahead, say it.
So when they were saying executive, so they said, and as I can remember now, two things came to mind when you was talking about, especially the aviation, was when Ronald Reagan broke the unions and with the airplane controllers, and that whole aviation thing was shook up, and then they started allowing these other corporations now to divvy in the departments that the aviation administration had. The corporations was now able to come in and start.
Right. I know that. I know that's the that's where they were able to bring in a lot of contractors. But
right.
Right, yeah. I have that. That's supposed to be an executive order, and I have a copy of that somewhere. But here's the thing. This is an executive department. They are doing an executive function. They don't have any legislative authority. Follow up. There's no legislative authority. So if there's no legislative authority, what law? The only thing that the executive can do is administer the law. They can't write the law. They can only administer the law. So what law are they administering, and who wrote it? Right? Because here's the thing. Statute is nothing more than an administration of a policy. I mean, statute is administrative policy. It's a policy and procedure. Statute says this is how we're going to do something. It's not the law. All right?
Correct.
Where is the law that the statute is supposed to be administering? They're saying that the statute is the law because they haven't taught us that the statutes are not law. Statutes is the administration of the law. But where is the law? You follow what I'm saying?
Sure, I'm following because laws,
right.
that's the judicial branch of the government to create the laws, and so that hasn't happened.
It's the legislative. But remember, in the Constitution, it says all legislative powers shall be vested in the Congress of the United States. Not the United States of America. The executive power is vested in the President of the United States of America. So when they start talking about we're writing law or we're writing whatever they're writing under the President of the United States of America, it is administration. They're calling it statute. But in order for them to have a statute, in order for them to write a statute, there has to be a law that they're administering. But because they don't teach, right? You see what I'm saying? Because they do not teach us proper government and law and civics, they have taught us, mentally conditioned us to believe that a statute is a law, much like they have mentally conditioned us to believe that a Federal Reserve note is money when a Federal Reserve note is a check. It is a promise to pay. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So all of this is bogus, but it's only bogus as long as the people stay ignorant. So proactively, we can say, okay, where is the law that this statute is administering? You're going to get crickets croaking because there's not going to be no answer. You're going to just say, you know what, I got an MP3. I'm going to roll it so that we get that cricket sound. We don't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be able to answer. You're just going to get cricket sound.
And is this correct too, Annie E? So since it's executive, then all those cabinet members are appointed by the president then. And so do they take an oath of office?
Well, here's the thing. Now, because I'm looking at this, and I got to research it, a little bit more. Now, according to the American Constitution, all seats have to be based on election.
Yeah.
You can't not hiring. All right, that's why when these people run around here talking about I'm a police officer, well, who elected you?
Exactly.
Because I didn't. When did the election take place? I didn't even hear about it. Where's the ballot list?
Right, because I remember you exactly right. Because I remember when George Bush made what's his name was out of Pennsylvania, the head of Homeland Security here forth, and he appointed him that position. And then they came back talking about this appointment for a drug czar. and these was all executive appointments. None of them was elected. None of them, I believe none of them took any kind of oath for nothing.
No, because here's what's happening, and the reason this is why when people when Moors and modern Europeans go asking for an oath, what you're going to get is absolutely questionable, because what they have done is they have turned over a lot of functions to contractors.
Yes.
The contractors are running around like a bunch of renegades talking about, I'm the government. Said, and even some of the state people don't even know, and some people might be saying, well, yes, they do, because I put them on notice. Did you really put them on notice? Did you really put them on notice? Because, see, according to the states and the feds, this is how they think. Unless you sue them, you're agreeing.
Yes, I got you.
That's the only, because, see, they only think in money. They only think in finance. Oh, you didn't sue them, then you must not have been really injured. And in that arena, in order to sue them, you got to pay and put the suit and get a case number. You got to put it on a national record. And if you don't do that, you're in agreement with them. Everything is considered a gift, even if they've reached their hand into your pocket and took the finance out.
Yes, so then we back to consent again.
Yep.
Yes. Yes. Of course, the end result, they're gonna play it as you consented to it, no matter how grievous the crime was in the beginning.
Look, here's the thing: if somebody is traveling on the land and somebody rear ends them, there's been a violation of the liberty in some form or fashion. You've been inconvenienced. You're going to sue them. That's a national record. You're going to sue them. You're going to sue them. You're going to petition their insurance company to get compensation. Really, it should stop there, really, because the whole issue is I need to be made whole. Now, if you're not made whole by the insurance company, then you need to take it further, because you got to be put back the way they found you. And giving you $5,000 when your car note is 10 is not putting you back together again. Plus, you ain't got a car. So you got to take a car note and get a new car. So you have not been put back together again. So if the insurance gives you $5,000, you're going to have to go and sue them so that you can once again be made whole. That puts out a national record. You're not agreeing. You're not gifting. You're not lying down. You're not rolling over. Everybody knows. Oh, no, she ain't lying down for this one. She's suing the hell out of them, and she's going to get made whole. When you don't do that, they look at it as gifting and acquiescing and agreement. And it never makes national news. Not national news in terms of their so-called media people. It never gets on a national level. It never makes it there until you put a suit in the record.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why these states and feds, they can turn a blind eye, because really our people, they ain't never sued them. And I understand why, because we just now getting up to speed with writing affidavits, writing we trying to get people to be able to write a deposition, a cause of action in blunt, plain language, because you cannot go to the next phase of the operation until you write that cause of action deposition in blunt, plain language. You ain't giving these. Look, you got to know that the mayor is not a mayor. He's a CEO. You got to know that the chief of police is really the chief of security. You got to know that a police officer doesn't even exist. Two don't even go together. You got to know that that is a security guard with a gun. And you got to know that, you can't say that the San Diego Corporation, you got to say San Diego. I mean, you can't say the city or county of San Diego. You got to say the San Diego Corporation. You got to call them what they are in every phase of your documentation, because if you validate them as government in any way, you just shot yourself in the foot.
I want to add something to this, and the reason is that for clarity in terms of when you were talking about the legislative, like we know about the legislative that makes law, the executive that enforces it, and the judicial system that tries it. Now, some people, and this is true, they do not enforce the American National Constitution, which in Article 6 it says that any state's constitution, they can have a constitution, but it must be in harmony with the supreme law, which is why the directive is to enforce the supreme law of the land, right? And so what happens in the ignorance is they have in their constitution their legislative department. And I'm only clearing this up for those who may say, well, they said their legislative department made the law. No. Their legislative department that they're talking about in their state constitution is really making what you said statutes.
That's right. Exactly.
Yes, make that clear. We gotta make that clear.
That's right. And that's what I said. They have mentally conditioned us to think that a statute is a law when a statute is an administrative policy, much like they have mentally conditioned us to believe that a Federal Reserve note is money when really it is an IOU. It is a check. It is a promise to pay. And there's case law that says you can't pay a debt with another debt. Therefore, if that's a debt instrument, you can't possibly owe taxes. There's case law for all of this stuff. We just need to take the time, stop getting panicked, don't get belligerent, don't get angry, don't get, and please don't get your ego up there like, I'm a Moorish American national, this is my ancestral estate, I own everything. Don't go there. Do not go there. The prophet said, speak in an intelligent tone. You can't speak in an intelligent tone if you ain't studied. And the only thing you need to be studying is the American Constitution. You need to the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. You got to know the history of this land. That means you got to study the Articles of Association, which actually kicks it off to a degree. You got to know the Declaration of Independence. You got to know the Articles of Association. You got to know the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. You got to know the American Constitution. It all ties it together and tells a story. That's the history. And then you got to know your bloodline. You got to know your family. You got to know the law, and you got to know the history. You got to know how this all came into being. Because if you don't know how it all came into being, you'll be standing in front of some foreigner talking about, this is my ancestral estate and I'm the heir. No, you're not. She's the heir. This is her ancestral estate. You're a beneficiary. But your job, your obligation as a bey, as a son, is to make sure that she can stand up and lay down the law and put the law on the table, because she will always come and protect her children all the time, Moors and modern Europeans, because they're all mother's children. She protects everybody, provides for everybody, but everybody needs to know who she is and protect her. And what was that? What was it? There was Roz, we was watching something. What was it where the mother? They had, oh goodness, it was something we was watching, and it was something to do with vampires and werewolves and something like that, and they all left mother unprotected. And then she came in and they came in and they said, we knew that everybody would leave you unprotected so that we can come in and take you out. It was something.
Oh, yeah, I remember that, but I can't remember what that show was.
Yeah.
But they did.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of the movies lately has been demonstrated all about mother. Protect mother at all costs. Protect mother. Protect mother at all costs. Protect mother. The movies, even the movies is telling you. Hey, the prophet said, I'm going to tell you, you need to know how to read the signs and the symbols. Right? There it is, right there. What's the message? Protect mother. Declare your nationality and protect mother. And we can wrap this thing up.
And I wanted to make a point too about all those instruments that you were just naming, like the articles of association, and they took a lot of pain and even naming those instruments what they named them. I hear a lot of feedback.
Okay, that might be me. Hold on, let me fix that. Hold on. It's gone now, right?
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. Yeah.
You know those instruments that you named, even the name of those instruments had to be in law. For instance, the Articles of Association. What association is the act of a number of persons in uniting together for some special purpose or business. You know, Declaration of Independence. They declaring their independence. What we do when, how we are in law when we declare and proclaim our nationality. These things, that these instruments telling you what they were even about.
Right. That's history. Look, the Articles of Association is very powerful. We have it on the site under the Forgotten Scrolls. There's only a page and a half, but it actually shows you where the modern Europeans who were slaves was appealing to the Congress, which definitely wasn't them. That was the continent. That was us. And they were changing their allegiance, agreeing to change their allegiance. That's what that is about. And that was that was 1774. And then right after that, they did their Declaration of Independence. And the whole thing goes in succession. It's so very, very clear as to what was occurring. So that association was them. You're absolutely right. That's a very
right, because it was a lawful process, I want to say.
Well, that's why history and law can't be separated, and that's why you told the study so you can put these keys together. The problem that we have as a result of that indoctrination and false education or false information is that when we read anything, for the most part, that says anything about slaves, we put ourselves in that place. So therefore, we're not able to discern and put the pieces together.
Right.
That's what our problem is. Yeah. I had been.
And that movie that I was thinking of, Roz, it was a Frankenstein movie.
Oh, that was, Frankenstein. That's the latest Frankenstein movie, man. That thing is powerful. Yeah. Yes.
That was it. Frankenstein, yes. Even in that, it's letting you know it's all about mother. And what did she say when Frankenstein walked up to her? She named him something.
Wait a minute. Wait, we kind of talked about this last night. She, existing already, named him, believe it or not, Adam. Hello.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty deep.
Wow.
Talk about signs and symbols.
Yep.
Wow.
Some below.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, check it out. I mean, prophet said, "I'm gonna make the Europeans tell you the truth," and he also said, "You gotta look out and know how to read signs and symbols." And there you go. There it is, right there. So
Now, you know what? History said the man must learn by signs and symbols, so that nobody
Thank
can
you. Man must learn by signs and symbols.
By signs and symbols. And it is so interesting because these Europeans are telling the truth all over the place. I sent you that audio clip, which I want to clip part of that off, where this European daughter who's a judge, or maybe used to be, well, I guess she still is telling. Well, what she's saying is what we've been saying for years. These people are corporations. They're not government. That you did, and she says in there, you can't have a sheriff that is going to be supporting the corporate side and the public trustee side. It's not possible. So that's right. She says it's not possible. So look, I'm telling you, these are fools and the most elite. It's done. But you can't enslave a now. No, go ahead.
But you know what? And I say this all the time. I said, look, people need to know, first of all, you Moorish son, you're the Sharif. You're the Sharif. Can't no modern European be the Sharif. You're the Sharif. You can't be looking for the Sharif. That's all you got to do is look in the mirror. You'll see the Sharif.
That's right.
Right? So now when these modern Europeans comes from, I'm the Sharif. No, you're not. You're an imposter because the bound obligation of the Sharif is to protect the people. So if you're not protecting the people, you're a police disguised as a Sharif.
Yeah. And because we are lack of knowledge, they got away with that.
Yep. Absolutely. So, it is 10 minutes after 10, and really...
Let me say this before you close out to SM and his message tonight. The point to be well taken is that although there was some difficulties or restraints regarding going on a private ship tour, because that's really what it is, you were able to fly with your national identification card with no problem in the airports on the continent. And that is something that I think many people have done and are doing, but those who are not is because they haven't attempted to do it. And like you said, you were only held up about 10 minutes regarding that at the airport. And myself, I had the same experience, and it was really a matter of 10 minutes. And what happens is, as you stated, these people who are employees, you're going through the line, and they're saying, okay, ID. Everybody's giving their driver's license instrument as ID, and that's what these employees are looking at. And it says, here you come with something that is not that, and they don't know what to do. They're trained to do the same thing. So then you get the manager, and then, all right, you're good, bye, that's it. Now, people who don't get that same response, I have to say that it is a matter of your energy, because this is divine and national. It's a spiritual thing. And if you come with your energy wrong and don't speak in intelligent tones, you're going to get resistance anyway. Maybe that's part of the problem. We know too many people, including ourselves, who have not had that problem flying with the card as identification. In fact, hell, that's been going on for years. They just hype it up as if the only ID is the driver's license instrument. And if you will also, before you hang up, just mention again about how the driver's license instrument is not going to be able to be used as a primary identification at airports anymore, because it, in fact, is not identification. It is what it is.
That's right.
It is.
That's right.
That's right. That's what's going down.
Right.
Oh, yes. I want to speak to that also, because here near this now Arizona territory, because of this thing that they got, what they call an illegal immigrants and stuff, and aliens, and able to get these driver's licenses. Some people are refusing those things. to that point. You know, after all this here stuff about where's your state ID, some people are actually just ignoring those instruments now, since they're allowing what they call foreign aliens to get them now. And another thing I want to say, you right too, Roz, is that actually I was finding it easier and easier now just to travel on land or through the airports with my little ID, because it was only a few minutes, 10 minutes or something like that, and I understood that, and then I took that as no problem, really.
Right.
So it's the energy, you know, or I mean, I'm just being who I am. That's how I look at it.
Right. Yeah.
Just be who you are.
Wow.
And that's interesting, because the prophet said, listen, I've come to teach you to be yourself. There it is.
That's right.
And the problem we have, as far as the lack of knowledge, is that you can only be what you know. So it's to study and to know.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So with that, it is, well, you know, 15 after 10. And class has officially ended. Make sure and check us back here. Next Wednesday, we will be at the National Theater near Harlem at Northwest Amexem. Doors open at 6 o'clock. Class begins at 7:30. Thank you so much, Sim, for coming and sharing your demonstration. And we'll be seeing you soon, I'm sure. Warm weather is coming. We'll be seeing
absolutely. I want to thank both of you mothers, too, for all that y'all do.
All right.
It's love. Thank you.
All right. Well, peace and love.
Peace and love to you and your family. It's love.
Yes, when I get that package, I'll be calling you, too, Rod.
What did you say?
Oh, when I get that